As Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate, Bigthan and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs, who guarded the threshold, came angry and sought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus. And this came to the knowledge of Mordecai, and he told it to Queen Esther. And Esther told the king in the name of Mordecai. When the affair was investigated and found to be so, the men were both hung on the gallows, and it was recorded in the book of the Chronicles in the presence of the king. After these things, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman. It is July 25th, Tuesday, 2023, and it's time for the reading of our devotional thought for today, coming from the devotional book, Truth for Life by pastor and author Alistair Begg. Today's devotional thought is entitled, What is God Doing? That's, What is God Doing? And our verses today, Esther chapter 2, verses 21 through chapter 3, verse 1. And it reads, As Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate, Bigthan and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs, who guarded the threshold, came angry and sought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus. And this came to the knowledge of Mordecai, and he told it to Queen Esther. And Esther told the king in the name of Mordecai. When the affair was investigated and found to be so, the men were both hung on the gallows, and it was recorded in the book of the Chronicles in the presence of the king. After these things, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman. And that's Esther chapter 2, verse 21 through chapter 3, verse 1. Have you ever done anything great at school, at work, or maybe even at church, only to see someone else get the credit? This was the experience of Mordecai. He had discovered and revealed an assassination plot against King Ahasuerus, and the king promoted Haman, giving him a throne of his own, so that all the royal servants and all those within the government circles were subservient to him. All Mordecai received was a few lines at the bottom of a page. But Mordecai did not yet understand how significant his recorded actions would prove to be, not only in his life, but for the entire Jewish population. Indeed, to some extent, for the whole world. For 5 years later, at a moment when God's people faced being wiped out by Haman's command, one night the king could not sleep, and he gave orders to bring the books of memorable deeds and the Chronicles. And it was found written how Mordecai had told about Bigthan and Teresh and Tersha, who had sought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus, Esther chapter 6, verses 1 and 2. The world would call that a coincidence. The believer knows it to be God's providence. It is important that we do not try to interpret the events of our lives only in terms of their immediate impact or personal relevance. God's providences are seldom self-interpreting, and if we try to understand all that's going on solely in the immediacy of the moment, we will usually come to the wrong conclusion. We want answers to appear clearly and quickly, and the resolutions to come now, but God calls us to cast our gaze on Him, trusting that His unfolding plan covers everything that is past, present, and future. We are to live and die in faith, believing that God will fulfill His purposes in every event, both big and small, both those we have dreamed of and those that feel like nightmares. It is justifiable to wonder what God is doing in your life and in this world. You probably will not get the right answer, though, by trying to analyze things within the frame of your life itself in terms of the here and now. What God is doing with you, in you, through you, and for you is almost certain something far more significant than anything you can see. God is a covenant-keeping God who is sovereign over all the details of your life. That is the hope and the truth on which to stand. And truly, that's solid ground to stand on when we look at the truth and the hope that's found in our covenant-keeping God. May the Lord encourage you today through this devotional thought, especially if you're going through things and you're wondering, what is God doing? For those of you reading through the scriptures in a year, Psalms 37, 38, and 39, your assignment, as well as the book of Acts, chapter 17, verses 16 through 34. Clive Walsh here. May the Lord richly bless you and have a great day.